What is going on, you guys? It is that time again for another squared circled collecting chat with Mike and myself.
You got it.
It's been a little while since we've been here.
It
We're
sure has. Couple-
every month, maybe twice a month sometimes, and we haven't done anything since mid-December.
Yeah, well, you did your move to
Yeah,
California, and I know you got sick.
yeah, had a little
Uh,
COVID, and that's
yeah,
everyone's
and
good with that.
that's good to have you back. It's good to be back. We get this back on track and a regular. Now you're West Coast, I'm East Coast. Like we'll
Yeah,
figure out the timing, but it's good to be back.
what you been up to for the past month and a half?
Um, Not a lot. I mean, the market is just like crazy, just crazy, and I think everyone's feeling the effects of it.
Yeah,
Um,
a deeper dive in just a second on that. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah,
What the heck's going on with your light?
yeah. I know. I have to apologize. My lighting. So it's about -20 here right now. Yeah. I went, my neighbor gave me heck because I went and checked the mail in shorts and a hoodie. She's like, "You're going to catch pneumonia." And I'm like, "It's a short drive." But the problem is I have fluorescent lighting in this room in my man cave, section of my man cave, and same in my garage. When it gets super cold, the lights they don't work when it's super cold. So I've got a pseudo lamp going on here, and I apologize, but it is what it is.
That's a pretty elaborate story for just you could have just said you forgot to pay your light bill and
Yeah,
but whatever, it's cold, it's
yeah.
-20, we got
We'll
it.
we're gonna blame the cold. I know you don't have that issue in California.
Yeah.
You're leaving there. You're going to the beach. Like after this, I'm going to shovel. There's the
Um,
difference.
so let's move on past Mike not paying his light bill. We'll get to our the first topic, which we always like to have an introduction topic, and it's going to be this crazy market that we're in right now. Um, the wrestling market has gone insane, and so has everything else, every other sport. But I think what's different is wrestling's never had a bump. I've talked to some bigger guys in the collecting community and wrestling. I don't want to name drop or anything, but and
Mhm.
they said like what I just said, like wrestling has always been kind of like the low thing to collect, the extremely low hanging fruit. There was never a bump, there was never a spike. It's always been flatlined.
Yeah.
So out of nowhere, wrestling has gone insane. Um, like the 82 Hogan has gone up, and that one's kind of hadn't gone down, but that's kind of not what's popular right now. What's kind
Right.
of the end thing right now is the Dwayne the Rock Johnson Bumblebee from when he was at the University of Miami, and I would say the 85 Hogan, the
Yeah.
yellow background, and then to a
Mhm.
lesser extent, but still the other one, this number 16, the teal
Teal.
back,
Yeah.
insane, insane.
Yeah, no doubt. And you talk about the low hanging fruit and wrestling getting the bump. M- My thoughts are if and when this bubble bursts, is there an opportunity that do you think the wrestling market will drop with the bubble, or do you think it'll maintain where it's at or close to like less of a drop because it's never had that bump, like you said?
Right. Yeah, I would definitely agree to that. I mean, I'm not a financial guru. I just collect freaking sport.
You just play one on YouTube?
Yeah, and I did a scene on TV once, but um, if something's flatlined, for let's say wrestling cards, what 40 years, 50 years, for the most part, we're not talking about
Yeah.
partners and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, it's been flat this whole time, and it finally gets a boost. Like it would be just hard for me to think. Like common sense kind of tells me like when or if, not if, when this bubble that we're in pops. I don't know if it's going to pop all over the place or just a little bit.
Hmm.
I just don't think wrestling's ever going to go back down to what it was. Now, granted,
Right.
I do believe it will probably always be the lowest hanging fruit, but you're not going to get the 82 Hogan Wrestling All Stars. You're not going to get that for $200 again.
Yeah, and you talk about wrestling always being the low hanging fruit. I would tend to think, being from Canada, hockey would always be the low hanging fruit, but I mean, even something like that has caught a lot of attention. Like some of the stars have gone up. So I don't, the question more along the lines is, if that bubble breaks, what's going to cause it to break? Because um, there's been a lot of influencers out there, guys like Gary Vee, who talk a lot about the hobby, and love him or hate him, he's got like 1 million followers in his stable. And man, if he says collect wrestling or collect this, boom, all of a sudden it goes up. So, and he predicted all those sneaker flippers would come into the sports card market, because there's more inventory. You
And
know,
they're here.
they're here without a
They're
doubt.
not coming. They're not on the way. They're here.
They
And
are.
they are now us. So
Yeah, yeah, they are. And but they're us to the nth degree, because I'm seeing some of these young kids. I'm watching videos of these young 15, 16-year-old kids at shows. You watch any videos of the Dallas card show that just happened a couple of weeks ago. Man, there's some young people in the hobby that are just whipping out stacks of cash on this, that, and the other. So, it's like you said, they're here, and how long they're here to stay, I think, will keep the bubble going. That's all there is to it.
yeah, and I mean, we probably could have brought on someone like Mike Baseball Collector or
Mhm.
Mr. David Peck.
Yeah,
Who else? Joe Silver Jackify. Like basically, I'm getting at like numbers guys that deal with money for a living.
yeah.
Probably
Filmington would be a good,
Filmington
guess.
guys that could speak to this a little bit
Yeah,
better than us. Like I have no idea when this bubble will pop, but it just can't keep growing and grow. Like something always happens and brings it down to
sure.
reality.
Always.
The stock market, it might get crazy this month. Something's
Mhm.
going to happen. It's going to bring it back down. It's ebbs and flows. So
For sure. For sure.
back to kind of talking about the 85 Hogan. I'll
Yeah.
tell a quick story. When I was in Virginia Beach, Tiffany and I went to a card show in. It would have been like late October, early. It was mid-November is when it was. It was right before Thanksgiving,
Mhm.
and it was one of the bigger shows there. I always called them the bingo hall shows, and being quite honest, like they were pretty crappy, but it was better than nothing.
Sure.
And there was a new dealer there at that particular show, and he had all these cards and top loaders laid out all over his table.
Yeah.
And as we're walking out, at the very, very corner, I noticed an 85 Hogan card number one, the yellow background.
Yellow background.
I told Tiff, I'm like, oh, that's Hulk Hogan's rookie card. This was before wrestling got to where it's at today in, mid-February 2021. And I asked the guy, I was like, hey, how much for this? And he's like, $10 and it's yours. And I remember thinking at the time, like, man, that's a pretty good deal. You know what I mean? They were going for like $15-$16.
Yeah.
And so I give him $20. And before he gives me my change back, he's like, if you want the other one, because the green one was there too, he's like, I'll sell you that one for 10 as well. And I was like, nah. Like,
Yeah.
no, thanks. And now, like, I can't purchase, or I haven't purchased an 85 Hogan number one, the yellow one, or number 16, the teal one, in a long time because they're freaking expensive. But the yellow ones are going for, condition is everything, going for anywhere from like 80 to $300. And
Raw. Are you talking raw?
Oh, yes. And then the number 16, it's a little less.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as sought after, but it's going for 50 to $250.
Crazy.
So I think I could have had both of them for $20.
And you take those and you put those, into PSA. If they come back a good grade, that just becomes the multiplier. I mean, I have an Instagram page where I showed off both my Hogans, the yellow and the teal, a while ago, probably before we started this chat. And David Peck, who we follow each other on Instagram, said, he messaged me and said, you need to get them off. Those are in great shape. So, I mean, they're off with JT, as are a bunch. So I'm excited to get them back because I know they're in good shape. I mean, you've seen them too, and I'm just hoping they come back with 7, 8 would be nice, but
Right.
we'll just have to wait and see.
I'll say, just for you guys that are watching this that don't know, JT is runs Triple Crown 24. He
Right.
does, like, group PSA grading, like where through Slab City do group PSA autograph authentication. JT does grading. Mike and I both submit to him to grade our cards. Great guy, great service. If I can remember, I'll try to put the link down below. Just let me know we sent him your way. That was an unplanned commercial in the middle of this. But back to
and unpaid for too, by the way.
JT, you owe me $1. Back to the grading. One thing I think is very interesting, and I know you and I have talked off camera about this before, is wrestling, unlike any other, I'm going to call it a sport, and like any other sport, it's like something I've never seen before, because PSA 4s and 5s and 6s sell really well.
Yeah.
You can't go get a card, let's just say mid 80s, late 80s, and a PSA 6, and people be paying a somewhat of a premium for it. And I see it in wrestling day after day after day. And I think that is because card grading in the wrestling community is still in its infancy.
Yeah.
People like Mr. Rob England or Mr. David Peck have been doing this for so freaking long. They were light years ahead of the curve. So they have all these cards graded and hundreds of them, but I would say your average collector just never thought about freaking slabbing up a Hulk Hogan or an Andre the Giant or a Rock rookie card. You know what I mean? And who would have ever thought, like the 1997 Cardinal? I didn't even talk to you about this, Mike. There was one that sold last night, a raw one, for $400, $425
for the Rock.
Right. And the Cardinal, the 1997 Cardinal is essentially it's a freaking board game.
Yeah, it's trivia game.
You wouldn't have got this in the card section. You would have had to go next to Candyland and all these other,
Monopoly.
You know what I mean? And so people are grading these. There's also, I'm just kind of going down how wild the wrestling card collecting community is. There was decks of cards that were released in 1988 and another one in 1991. Yeah. And those are highly sought after. The ones in 1998, good luck getting your hands on a deck of those.
Right.
There was five of them that sold about a week ago, and the gentleman posted them really, really late at night. And all 5 sold within 30 minutes, and he wanted $400 a piece.
Wow.
For a deck of cards, y'all. This is something, once again, you could have went to your local Walmart or Target and bought a deck of cards for
$4 or $5.
I haven't bought a deck of cards in 100 years, but I mean, definitely under $5.
Right. And imagine if you grab 10 or 20 of them and just put them away. That's the whole thing when you talk about guys like Robert and David, like being ahead of the curve. The situation now with what we're in with the prices being so high, people are looking at alternatives, what to collect. Something like wrestling, it's almost, I don't want to say it's too late. I mean, I guess it's never too late. But for those guys that are in, I hate to say it, the flipping game, it might be too late for them. But as a collector to get in, you're going to pay a pretty penny. I see a lot of different stuff coming up on YouTube where guys are, I'm going to collect this sport or I'm going to collect this sport because they still want to collect, but they don't want to break the bank. And it maybe is something that they were mildly interested in at one point.
Right.
And they're like, well, I can't afford baseball and I can't afford to buy Prism boxes because they're so expensive, like right out of the gate. Right. And today is, I mean, when we're filming this today, what is today? The 9th of February. I believe today is the official release day of Topps 2021
I think it is.
baseball. So I mean, even that is probably going to be outrageous in the hobby market, at least, you know.
Right. You know, you said you think it might be too late to get in the game, and it kind of reminds me of what our friend Those Back Pages always says on his videos. He is for years. I would almost venture to say for the better part of a full decade. How many times have you heard him say it's never a bad time to buy an air hockey?
It's almost like his tagline. It has been for so
Right.
long.
He was on that. I'm not exaggerating. I think for about 10 years. And he was right. And I kind of want to change that perspective to, it's never a bad time to buy a Hogan rookie. And the reason is, I'm shit, man. How old am I? 38. I always forget how old I am. It's just a number. It means nothing to me. So I'm 38. So people that are, I would say 35 to maybe 50, like wrestling is what we grew up on. Like I know like my generation, that's what we grew up on.
Right.
We didn't have Pokemon and Magic cards and all that other stuff. If you're looking at like 25-year-olds, as far as nostalgia, yeah, we might be talking about Pokemon.
Right.
But my generation that's kind of coming into their careers fully blossoming, their families are fully grown up and starting to blossom. They own a home, they own this, they own that. You want to get into something, dude. You want to get into these larger than life characters that you remembered and loved watching as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you're seeing right now.
Well, I mean, you think about it, Garrett. You were born in 82. So you figure when you were watching wrestling, you're talking like 87, 88 to like 90. That's like wrestling was in its heyday.
Yeah.
That's probably when it was its largest. You had a few years of WrestleMania. It was booming. And it's like you said, guys your age, that's what they, outside of the, the normal, the big 3 or 4 sports, even if you include hockey in there was always something else that drew your attention away from the regular sports. And like you said, guys in your era, it's wrestling for sure. And to guys a little younger, you're right. The Magic and the Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that. So,
and we'll wrap this segment up here in just a second, but thinking about, being priced out, like obviously I know my household income, and I can say that for the most part, I'm priced out of Hogan. And now you can buy their lesser stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can buy a 90 Classics Hogan for $2. Sure. I'm talking about the premium stuff, those stuff that, is really, really sought after. I'm priced out of those two dudes.
Yeah.
And I will give one, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here because I didn't tell you about this because it just kind of came to my head, but kind of maybe some other wrestlers that maybe people should be looking at right now. And for me personally, I would say, whenever I think The Rock, I think Stone Cold.
Right. Yeah, Stone Cold. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that I guess you could use the term iconic in the hobby.
Right.
Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold. Who else is there? Guys like John Cena.
Yep. For the dudes a little bit younger than me. Yeah.
Yeah, John Cena, Ultimate Warrior, guys like that. They're not probably at the level that I almost put Hogan and The Rock like at the elite level. Hogan ahead of them, 1A, 1B.
Right.
But then there's another tier below them where, there's quite a few guys that you could throw into that category, young and old.
Right. Triple H would probably be another one.
Triple H.
Looking at his stuff just last night.
Yeah.
Better watch what I say because I don't want everyone going to buy his stuff, but he's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's still very affordable. Very affordable.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. So
that was good. That was
no, it's good insight, and like I will say, you're right. it's never a bad time to buy a Hulk Hogan rookie or a Rock rookie, but just be prepared. Like, they're not cheap. They are definitely not cheap.
Yeah, I would
So,
say if the bubble pops anytime in the next couple months, you might be paying an absolute premium right now. Because
yeah,
man, shit's hotter than hot right now.
no doubt.
So,
No doubt.
let's move on to, I guess, our main topic, the topic that's in the title,
Yep.
the Royal Rumble. You know, we
For
planned
sure.
on doing this immediately after the Royal Rumble, but life happened, and I
Yep.
couldn't do it a couple days, and then Mike couldn't do it a couple days, and next thing you know, it's mid-February, and we're like, God, dog, like we have to do this soon. So here we are. So
Yep.
let's talk about the Royal Rumble. It happened about 2 weeks ago. Kind of what your thoughts were on this Royal Rumble, and then afterwards, you know, we'll talk about maybe some highlights you had or I had
Yeah.
through the years.
I think for me, I wasn't impressed with it. You know, we kind of talked off camera, and you know my thoughts about it. I like seeing some of the older guys come back. That's just me personally. I like seeing, you know, Kane walk into the Royal Rumble just because you don't expect it. You don't expect it. But I think, you know, there is a time when it's, you know, okay, let's move on and let's promote the young guys. But at the end of the day, if I had to give it a grade out of, you know, whether it's a letter grade, I'd probably give it a C. And if I had to give it, you know, a rating out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 6.
Yeah.
I just wasn't happy overall with it. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, I called you right afterwards, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was pissed, but I was like kind of disappointed. Like, what the hell did I just watch?
Right.
You know, so I'd kind of like to do a little deeper dive on 4 of the matches in particular.
Sure.
So the show started off with Drew McIntyre and Goldberg.
Yeah.
And it was funny when I was doing the show notes, like the first thing I thought of, and this may not even be a great comparison, but like who nowadays wouldn't like to see Juan Soto against Nolan Ryan? You know what I mean? But that is for video games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Nolan Ryan was in his heyday a long ass time ago. And guess what? So was Goldberg. Now, granted, I think he's 55.
Yeah.
Like, he might be the toughest and most in shape 55-year-old on the planet.
He's the same age as me, and I can't imagine being in that kind of shape.
But to put a 55-year-old up against what's Drew, like 33, 34?
Yeah, right in the prime of his career.
Looks like he's chiseled out of a freaking granite. Like,
yeah.
Come on, like this is all about storylines and all that, and I totally get it and appreciate it. But man, this shit's so unrealistic, it's insane. You know what I mean?
And I often wonder to myself, does the WWE feel that maybe they need to do something to get some older fans back? Excuse me. Do they need to inject some of those older wrestlers to draw some attention back? Because, you know, outside of a few of the mainstays that are in there right now, there's a lot of people that, you know, I guess for the diehards know the wrestlers,
Right.
but for the common man, they don't know who like Aleister Black is and all these guys. They just don't. So I don't know if they're trying to inject some new life into it and bringing these guys back. I have no clue.
Right. So like Drew obviously ended up winning the match.
Uh-huh.
It would have been even more insane if he lost. Like
Right.
But he ended up winning the match. The next match I want to talk about is the Women's Royal Rumble, which I thought it was very interesting. I thought it had really, really highs and really, really lows.
Yeah.
Like, there was parts of the match where I was like, and y'all know me from this series that we've been doing. Like I've been super over on the women's league or whatever you want to call it. I've for a long time now, I've thought they've been more entertaining than the men.
Yeah.
And just watching their Royal Rumble, I was like, oh my God, dude, what the hell am I watching?
It's almost like, Garrett, you're right. They went from the women went from like the divas to the next step. Like, okay, they're up and coming, they're becoming entertaining. And then you watch the Royal Rumble and it's like 3 steps back. There was some of it that was just so, I mean, listen, we know it's scripted. We
Right.
know that. But there were some of the, like some of the workings of the Royal Rumble. It's like there's a couple of wrestlers like they were waiting for the move. Like, here I am, make
Yes.
the move. And it's like, oh, you gotta get better at that. And it just like it looked too scripted. And I thought it kind of notched itself down from where the women were taking it.
Right. And I forget who it was. I think, man, I might be wrong, but I'm wanting to say it was like Natalia towards the end, like threw a female wrestler against the ropes, and like the lady came back and like slowly stopped.
Yeah.
Natalia was going to drop kick her. Well,
Yeah.
she stopped too early, and Natalia still did her drop kick. There was like a good 2 feet difference, and like the camera angle could not have been any worse.
It was terrible. It
And then
was terrible.
there she goes flying backwards, and I'm like,
She got hit by that invisible drop kick.
So, but
Yeah.
moving on to the positive things, Bianca Belair ended up winning.
Yeah.
There's a documentary right now on her on the network, which I just watched yesterday morning,
Right.
and so good, man, so freaking good. She
Yeah.
has a really great story. But the final 4 in that match was Charlotte Flair, Natalia, Bianca, who won, and Rhea Ripley. And I'll talk about Rhea Ripley a little bit later when I talk about some of my favorite Royal Rumble moments.
Yeah.
But I think she's definitely going to be the next big thing. They're definitely high on her.
Yeah.
So that is that. We'll move on to the Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match. I don't know. I'm kind of over this whole Roman Reigns head of the table tribal chief thing. They try to pump in that he's so freaking unstoppable. He's the tribal chief, the head of the table.
Right.
But he constantly needs Paul Heyman to get him out of a jam. He constantly needs his cousin, who he acts like is a pissant, but constantly gets him out of a jam. Like in this match, at one point, like Kevin Owens was dominating. I mean, dominating. Even handcuffed Roman Reigns to like this pillar.
Yeah.
And freaking Paul Heyman had to come out and what's it called to get him up. And matter of fact, I just now remember this. Like that match in particular was a last man standing match.
Correct.
So once you're down, you have 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And this is another WWE script thing that pissed me off.
Oh yeah.
So you see, Kevin Owens handcuffed him down, so he couldn't really stand up. Like he handcuffed him really, really low to the ground.
Yeah, it was on one of those beams. Those.
Yeah.
That hold up the lighting.
There, the ref's going 1, 2. Once he gets to 10, if you don't stand up, you've lost. It's not a pinfall match. Right. Well, the ref gets to 5, and Paul Heyman comes out, and they must have had some kind of freaking debacle with the key and the handcuffs because it wasn't working. Well, the ref just stopped counting.
Yeah.
And the dude was down for like 30, 40 seconds.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I get it. It's a storyline and the show must go on. But like times like that and what we talked about in the females Royal Rumble, it's hard for me just to keep imagining like an awesome story. Because that's what wrestling is. It's just a story.
Sure. That's all it is.
But when you start showing these holes like Swiss cheese, like it's hard for me to keep using my imagination. The tribal is so big and bad, baddest dude on the planet, but yet he needs this old freaking white dude.
Yeah.
And he needs his cousin that he treats like shit to always save his ass.
Right. No, you're right. It's a stretch to get him to that level that they want him to. I mean, they've got to come up with better storylines if they're going to keep him as the man and the tribal chief and the head of the table. They got to cut away from that kind of stuff. I mean, he's got to be sure he's got to take his beat downs, but he's got to be more dominant to get out of the match on his own, where he doesn't need all this outside interruption. And I get it; it's part of the heel process too. But I mean, it's just what I think it's doing is it's diminishing the entertainment value of watching it.
Right.
And maybe that's just my opinion. Maybe that's your opinion. There might be diehards out there that go, "No, it was awesome. You don't know what you're talking about." And I'm like, listen, if you're going to keep whether it's new fans or old fans back into it, the storyline has to be better. And that's literally where I think the WWE is lacking in their creative juices for the storylines. I think they're lacking.
Yeah, no doubt. So they're definitely been holding on to this Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens thing for a long, long time.
Right.
So the last match I want to talk about is the men's Royal Rumble, which closed the show.
Yeah.
Edge came in as number 1 or 2.
He came in as number one.
Number 1. Okay, so he
Pretty sure he was number one.
And I remember thinking then, like, holy hell, dude! Like he has, spots of gray in his hair.
Yeah.
He's still in really good shape.
He's in
good shape.
Yeah.
But as 45-year-old, 46-year-old, I don't know how old he is, but even though he's in shape, there's still some things like sagging here and there.
Yeah.
His stomach area is sagging a little bit and droopy, and I'm like, I remember thinking like, what the fuck? Like this dude's this thing.
The average man would take that build no problem for that age. But
I'd take it at 38.
Yeah, I'd definitely take it. But when you get into the ring with some of the other guys, it just doesn't look, it doesn't look good.
Like I thought the announcers kind of spoiled it a little bit because they just kept saying, "Oh man, Edge has been in for 20 minutes."
Yeah.
Oh God, Edge has been in for 27 minutes.
Yeah.
Like after a while, I was like,
"Is he gonna win?"
Dude, like this. Yeah. Keep talking.
Yeah. And you and I talked about this exact point. Is I like the fact that they bring some of the older guys in because it's a big like, oh, look at this. This is cool. But to win it, that's just a little much. Like there's a lot of younger guys that are due to get to the next level. I mean, he's had his day in the sun. I mean, even they brought out Christian, and then there was that big hug moment in the middle of the screen, from back in the day. And then they're like, okay, let's get this guy. And it's like, come on, man, come on. Let some new blood get in there.
Yeah, that's and I'm just gonna kind of beat a dead horse here because my thoughts is exactly yours. I remember I called you afterwards and I was not happy because
you were not.
The WWE has so much talent, you know what I mean? And let's take away the gimmicks and let's talk about the people, the actual. I'm talking about the men in this instance, but it goes the same for the women. Like you have all these men and women that are doing this as a career and to get paid and to put food on the table, and you're not giving them a chance. You're not giving them an opportunity to have the show start with freaking Drew McIntyre and Goldberg. Like,
yeah,
it seems so silly. Like there's so many people in wrestling that would just kill for that spot. I mean, that's a premium spot. That's a spot where you can make a new character over. And for Edge to win the freaking Royal Rumble, like
I know.
Whoever wins the Royal Rumble, like there's a storyline there.
Right.
Because then, like, I think the next pay-per-view, I think it's Elimination Chamber. Well, he's going to be on that, and he's been on every freaking week since the Royal Rumble. And the crescendo isn't going to happen till WrestleMania.
Right.
For like another month.
Yeah. Maybe that's going to be, I mean, we could sit here and be critical all we want, but far be it from us to be like, this is how it should be. I mean, they're the WWE. We can be critical of it all we want. I mean, let's listen. Let's give props where props are due. they are like McMahon and his that
Oh yeah,
they're
genius.
marketing
You know what I mean?
geniuses. So
No,
maybe there's something that we don't know. Maybe there's something that's they're working towards down the pipeline where everyone's going, this is crazy, this is stupid. And then all of a sudden, look what
I need
happened.
that point to get here.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Just so you can understand what's going on. Like you need that aha moment, like, now I get it. I'll never doubt them again until the next event comes up and you're like,
Yeah,
what
till the next
the heck?
match.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt. No doubt.
So I think we're good on this year's Royal Rumble talking about that. So what are some like favorite moments of yours maybe from the past?
So I picked two. I picked two that stand out, and they're back-to-back years, 1997 and 1998. 1997, Steve Austin gets eliminated, and he gets thrown out, and the referees don't see him get thrown out. They're preoccupied, and I think it's Bret Hart that takes him out, if memory serves. And there's another match going on. They don't see it. All of a sudden, he comes back into the ring, ends up winning it. So it's almost like he stole the Royal Rumble in 1997. The other one that I think is really cool is 1998, where Mick Foley appears 3 different times as 3 different characters. He comes out in 1998. He's contestant number 1, and he's Cactus Jack. Doesn't last long. Like all 3 times, he's number 1 as Cactus Jack. He's number 16 as Mankind, and he's number 28 as Dude Love. And doing some research on it, he only lasted a total of 20 minutes for all 3 characters. And the first 2 would be short-lived because he's got to go backstage and make that costume change.
Right.
But in each character, he did eliminate 1 wrestler at least. So I just thought that was a cool moment in Royal Rumble. How about yourself? You got some favorites?
Yeah, I definitely have some. So the 1990 Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
So towards the end, the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan are in the ring at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Ultimate Warrior just goes ham, dude, and just starts throwing people out left and right. And the next thing you know, it's just them 2 in the ring, and they're just staring each other down. And these 2 at the time, just larger than life characters.
Yeah.
And they start bouncing, like swinging off the rope and coming back, and like they would just bounce off each other, and like no one would freaking sell, you know? And then it ended up them literally running. One's running this way on the ropes, the other one's running this way, and they're going like this. And then they hit a double clothesline, and they both fall down, and they both are selling.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was just watching this morning, and I was like, oh man, like how cool is this?
Sure.
And then the Barbarian comes in, and I was like, yeah, that shit's done. Like, so, yeah, freaking the Barbarian was the buzzkill.
Yeah.
The 2019 female Royal Rumble, Lana came in at 28, and she had a bad ankle from earlier in the night.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like trying to get down to the ring, and Nia Jax comes in behind her. She's like number 29 and just beats the living piss out of her. So, all these medics come out, and Fit Finley, who I don't know his position at the time, like general manager or something.
Yeah.
He comes down, and he's like trying to figure out what's going on with her. Well, out of nowhere, Becky Lynch comes running down because she wasn't in the Royal Rumble, and she's like, let me in, let me in.
Yeah, let me take her spot. Right.
And so he's finally like, go. The crowd goes bananas. She ends up going down there towards the very end.
Yeah.
And it's her and Charlotte 1-on-1, and she ends up freaking winning, and of course going to WrestleMania. But what I wanted to talk about, that I alluded to earlier, was Rhea Ripley in that 2019 match.
Right.
Dude, she was so freaking dominant, man.
Yeah.
So this is now three Royal Rumbles ago.
Yeah.
This chick, man, she's gonna pop on the scene. Like she's gonna really get over here real soon.
Yeah.
3 years ago, she was a monster in there. You know, she's super in shape.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's just bigger than everything else.
I actually thought this was going to be her year.
Yeah.
Like I thought the lead up, okay, there's 2 that she's gone through, and it's the 3rd one. Like maybe this is it. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be. Maybe something else is. Again, these guys are creative geniuses. Maybe they're the ones that, you know what, we're going to. We got something in store for Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, they've kind of moved on from Bailey and her dominance for so long.
Yeah.
And Becky Lynch, she got pregnant and she had her baby, so she was, you know, she was over big time. So
Yeah.
it's to be determined if she comes back. And now they're playing the Sasha Banks card, which is kind of getting over that. So I think Rhea's the next woman up.
She's got to be.
2 more that I want to talk about. So in 2002, the Royal Rumble, Stone Cold came in around mid-tier, around, you know, I don't know the exact number, 15, 16, 17. And he came in and like just freaking dominated, dude. Threw everyone out of the ring.
Right.
And then he sits there on the post. He gets on the turnbuckle and he's sitting at the top and he's like,
next. Just waiting.
And I was just like, oh my God, dude. Like, how gangster is that he's
That's pretty badass.
That he's just sitting there like, come on, who's next?
Yeah. You're not going to last long. Get him in here so I can get him out.
Yeah. And then the next one was, what's his name? Val Venus. So, and then last but not least was this here. Can you see that?
I can. Yeah.
So, Titus O'Neil comes running down to the ring. And
I know what's going to happen.
I'm going to make this short and sweet.
Here he comes.
So that's the highlight of it. But it's just the fact that he runs down full speed, falls, and flies underneath the ring.
That's still fantastic.
I just thought so freaking great.
It's like he's probably like, here's my moment. Here's my time to shine. Whoops. No, you don't.
Like, can you imagine being him and being underneath being under there? Like, what's in your head? Like, dude, you've got to be kidding me, dude.
You're probably like, maybe if I just stay under here, no one will notice.
So, I mean, that's mainly our show. You'll have to pardon me. My son's doing distance learning in school right now, so he's talking to his teacher. Okay. So that's that. We'll move on to kind of the closing out and pickups. Do you have anything good?
Yeah, I picked up a couple of small sets that I picked up. You know, I'll just show some highlights. The 87 Tops stickers, not the 85, the 87. So we've got like Hulk Hogan, Bret the Hitman, Macho Man, and Elizabeth. And you know, it wouldn't be complete without I'm cool, I'm cocky, I'm bad, the honky tonk man, Andre. So it's like a 22 card set that I picked up. Got it reasonably priced. But the other thing I wanted to kind of show off was, and I'm not 100% sure the origin, is the 1991 Swanson set. You know, it's only a 12 card set. It's got Hogan, it's got the Macho Man, you know, Jake the Snake, Ted DiBiase, Ultimate Warrior, Bret the Hitman Hart. It's got the Mountie in there and Kerry Von Erich. But I mean, it's not a overly huge popular set. But I just don't really know the origins of it. I just picked it up for the heck of it.
Yeah, your friend and mine, Jay, the autograph guy, wrote that, and I wanted to say it was like one of either my last videos or maybe it was even one of your last videos that I was reading the comment section, talking about the Swanson set, and that's what he's talking about, and it's come from the Swanson dinner.
Right.
So I don't know a lot about it, so please, if I misspeak, just correct me down below, but I believe back in the day you would buy a Swanson TV dinner, and kind of how toys came in cereal boxes back in the day. You kind of got one of those cards in every Swanson dinner. It's kind of a promotion they were doing for a little bit.
Right.
And I think those sets, let's just say they were a lot cheaper than what they go for about a month ago.
Right. You know, and that's the one thing that I've noticed too when you talk about all these regional. I mean, this goes for any sport too. There's not a lot of, you don't see a lot of that stuff where you get cards and cereals or on the back of boxes or hell in TV dinners. I mean, those things came out now in TV dinners. I can tell you right now, I'd be living off of TV dinners for a little while, just sticking them in my freezer, opening them up, at least getting the card out, you know, and you just don't see a lot of that. So it's good info to have. How about you? Pickups?
I don't have a lot. And the reason I don't have a lot is because kind of what we started the show with. I've been priced out of everything that I like.
I believe it.
You know, I can still get some of my other favorite guys like the $1 Million Man and Razor Ramon. You know, I think those guys, will always be affordable. You know, they're not the major icons. Those are just kind of some of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
So I just haven't really been picking up a ton. But kind of some cool stuff that I did get lately is my wife, Tiffany, was at Target last weekend.
Yeah.
And she sent me some pictures and she's like, "Do you want this?" And so
then you went, hell yeah, I do.
Andre the Giant, and the box is really, really nice and cool. But what's funny, I hadn't even told you this story, Mike. After she put it in her basket, she said a gentleman stopped her in the Target and was like, "Where did you get that?" And so she pointed him in the right direction. She was like, "I just wanted to tell you, like, that was the last one." And he was like, "Are you kidding me?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I've been looking for that everywhere." And he's like, "I'll give you $20 for it right now." Keep in mind, she hadn't paid for it. Like, he was just going to give her $20.
He was going to give her $20 just to hand it over for his cart,
so he could go pay for it.
Wow.
And so she was like, "No, you know, my husband really wanted it, you know, blah, blah, blah." So
that's crazy.
I picked up that. And then Jake the Snake Roberts is doing a paid signing. I believe the company is called 80s Wrestling, and you can find him on Instagram. But he's doing a signing at the end of March the 28th. And it's not exactly cheap. It's $50 per, and $50 per for wrestling, that's pretty expensive. Yes, the Hogans and the Undertakers are way more, but I'm just saying, as a whole, you know, it's pretty expensive for wrestling. So I did pick up 3 items that I want to send in. So that's cool. WWF magazine.
That's very cool.
Tell you a quick funny little story was, I can't stand snakes, man.
Yeah.
But, you know how some people
are
spiders and all that. Like if there was a snake on my floor in this living room, I wouldn't be in my house, man. Like, I don't like snakes. I looked so long and hard for a freaking cool magazine cover that didn't have a snake. And I couldn't find one.
What year is that from, Garrett, by the way? Is it?
Oh, hell.
Stay on there?
It doesn't say.
It's
May 1996.
Very cool.
Still $3.50.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I got that, and then this for my Canadian friends that watch the show. This is a 1985 O-Pee-Chee, number 33.
Very nice. Very nice.
I think I always try to pick items that I think the ink will really pop.
Sure.
So I think that'll look really good, and then, you know, you can't beat this.
Oh, wow. Look at them there.
The 83 Wrestling All-Star. I guess this would be considered as rookie card.
Yeah.
And once again, like, I'm priced out of these. I'm glad I bought this when I did, because, you know, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous what these things are going for right now.
That's crazy.
So that is kind of my pickups. I've had some small things here and there that I've already put away.
Sure.
But nothing of note. That was kind of the coolest stuff that I've got since our last episode.
Very nice.
So I think that's going to be the show, my friend.
Yeah, it was a good return. It was a good return. I had a lot of fun doing this, and you know, I know we have a lot of viewers probably wondering if we were going to come back, but with your move out to the West Coast and getting sick, I think we're back into it, and hopefully, we can continue doing this on a regular basis and get back maybe, one or two a month at least, because we did have some great followers,
Right.
that were always on our channel watching and supporting us. So it's good to be back. Good to be back.
I'd say I'd shoot for 1.5 a month.
1.5.
Sometimes we'll do two, sometimes we'll do one.
Yeah.
But at a minimum, at least once a month is kind of at least my goal, and I'm sure that's probably yours as well.
Yeah, sometimes life gets in the way in scheduling, between, your life, you got busy life with 4 kids at home. Mine isn't as busy with the kid part, but I've got some other things going on in the football world that I'll be tending to. But, definitely want to keep this going because I have a lot of fun with it. So
that's the show, y'all. Thanks for watching. Till next time, adios, be safe. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Toodles.